Tonight, an Action News exclusive investigation finds a convicted felon accused of sex crimes and violent acts hired by a local school district. Investigative reporter Wendy Saltzman is tracking down answers about how this criminal, who has allegedly been refused jobs in New Jersey, Virginia, and Maryland, landed in Pennsylvania.
Freddie Dean Smith has a lengthy record, but that hasn't stopped him from bouncing around from state to state, applying for jobs working with kids. A quick Google search of his name easily turns up reports of his sordid past. So we're asking how he slipped through the cracks and ended up in a Delaware County high school. Article after article written by New York journalist Robert Cox documents a decade of investigations into the elusive Freddie Dean Smith.
This is a guy who, again, who's managed to keep slipping through the cracks and is, to me, a dangerous, sick individual.
Cox says Smith was denied teacher certifications in Maryland and Virginia, but somehow he landed in Chester High School.
Well, this is somebody with a criminal record. I can't imagine any parent would want someone like that as an administrator at their child's school.
A background check and records obtained by Action News show in 2002 he was found guilty of eluding police, which is a felony. And in 2001 and 2003, in two separate incidents in South Carolina, he was charged with sex crimes for approaching women in two different stores and exposing himself and touching himself in a lewd fashion.
Personnel matter. And
how can it be a personnel matter? If you Google this guy, you see his criminal background all over the place.
I have nothing that I can say about Freddie Smith.
The superintendent directed us to a written statement they provided, which says in part, Mr. Smith was only with the school district for 1 day as a per diem assistant principal. He took part in training sessions during which he had no unsupervised contact with students. Some people say he's unfit to be around kids.
He's not around our kids. He's not here.
Sources tell Action News Smith was hired for the last 6 weeks of class at Chester High School using an emergency certification to fill a void after a principal left and a vice principal was promoted. The Pennsylvania Department of Education could not tell us if Smith has a valid Pennsylvania teaching certification, and the Department of Human Services would not tell us if any background checks were run as required by law, citing privacy concerns.
He passed a background check.
The felony conviction doesn't matter?
Yeah. Wendy, I'm not going to speak to that.
Smith worked there on May 2nd, last week, for a single day, until his criminal past was revealed. And while we were not able to track down Freddie Dean Smith, Cox says that's no surprise. He's been trying for a decade, and he wonders if and when Smith will show up somewhere else.
Freddie Dean Smith is a very elusive figure who understands how to game the system.
Cox tells us Smith is still licensed in the state of New York and has been able to get jobs using that certification in other states that have reciprocal agreements with New York. You could read the full statement from the district on 6abc.com. I'm Wendy Saltzman, Channel 6 Action News.